is for an adult audience. The Dirty Dowdy Podcast may contain material that may be unsuitable for sensitive ears. Listener discretion is advised.
It's the Dirty Dowdy Podcast.
Well, we've stepped into it again. It's the Dirty Dowdy Podcast here on Longbox.FM. Of course, brought to you by Riley's Brewing.
Cheers.
We're doing, and we've been talking about it, we're doing our debate tonight. We're going to be dealing with State Assembly AD31. But before we get started, of course, as we've been hearing the last couple of weeks, a certain legal statement. I have a special one prepared for tonight, considering the events of the last week alone. It follows as such. This broadcast is copyrighted by the fine folks at Longbox.FM, a.k.a. me, for the private use of our audience. Any other use of this broadcast or of any pictures, descriptions, or accounts of the show without express written consent of Longbox.FM, me, is prohibited. I also want to state that tonight's show has been put together by myself. All involvement in this show is at the direction of me. Meaning, if you want to swing a big legal dong at us, make sure you solely focus it at me and not my staff here at Longbox.FM.
Also, stop following me in your truck.
Yeah. All the weird stuff, please. You can let it stop now. So, that being said, tonight we are doing something special, a little bit different type of show than you're accustomed to if you listen to us. And for our new listeners, thank you for tuning in. I hope you guys keep tuning in. And you can follow us tonight and participate in tonight's show. Everything, the Twitter webs, the Facebook worlds, just search Dirty Dowdy or Longbox FM. The phone line is 492-0450. You can call in and ask questions to our candidates tonight. And we also will have the Skype. I hope I catch it and I don't hang up on you. If I do, send us a nasty message. And we got Cuddy working the chat room on YouTube. She'll let me know. And Jenny's holding the phone, so that way I won't miss anything like a moron.
You won't hang up on them, you mean?
That still may happen, but...
This time.
Makes them look cool.
So, first thing I want to talk about, as I have written down here, my opening speech. Tonight's show, we are going to be taking it pretty serious. We're going to be here talking to candidates in a way that you won't get to hear on any kind of normal broadcast in the Valley. Television, radio, print.
We got swear words.
Yeah.
Woot.
We're going to allow for long format with our guests to express their opinion on the matters that are at hand. We have reached out to all of them. Right now, Ted Miller is in the House. Clint Olivier is on the way, and Joaquin Arambula, I'm guessing, is probably not going to show up, as they have expressly sent to me in various emails of threatening manner that they will not be here. But behind my shoulder here, there is a seat that has a sign that says reserved for Joaquin Arambula. So the invitation is there. We will address him throughout the show, give him a chance. But apparently they didn't want me to use his voice from previous debates to match the answers to the questions. They were worried that maybe we would cut up and do something dirty with their audio.
That would be terrible.
My
goodness.
How dare we?
Shocking how that is. So, yeah, they were afraid we'd be doing something dirty. Oh, well.
Go figure.
On the Dirty Dowdy Podcast?
I know. We have an image. Tonight, everything that we're going to do, everything that we are going to lay out is important for you guys. Anybody living in this area, you need to understand that your vote does count. It does matter. And as we've been working this week, kind of coming up with our questions, I came up with a list of 4 reasons why people don't vote or say that they don't vote. So I'd like to address this real quick. Number 1 reason why people don't vote. I don't want to go to jury duty. Well, you have a license, right? You're going to jury duty. They get you. They're like taxes. You're going no matter what. So that's weak. Number 2, I'm not informed enough, or I don't know. And Molstar, you and I were talking about that. I think if you don't know, in some cases, it's good to not vote.
Correct.
I don't want somebody countering my vote. But again, you can educate yourself with programs such as this one right now, or any kind of interweb device. The information's out there. All you need to do is listen to a candidate, find out something that they say. If it attaches to you, if it's something that you're passionate about, if you like water and you hear what Ted Miller here has to say tonight, and that strikes with you, you've got a reason to vote. So do it. Number 3, my vote doesn't matter. Well, bullshit. There was a case about 10 years ago in Kingsburg where the vote actually came out, I believe, 1,068 to 1,068, and it was decided by a coin flip. And the guy who lost the coin flip went ahead and sat in the chair anyways and ended up getting voted in by his buddies to continue being in that chair. So
Now your votes don't matter.
yeah. all it needs is one. And it's not just one. If you were listening to tonight's show and you really love Ted Miller, you really love Clint Olivier, or you love the chair that Joaquin should be sitting in, you can tell your family and your friends and impress upon them how awesome that person is. And you may affect now 10, 100 voices. Here, with our dozens and dozens of, actually thousands of listeners, our voices here do matter. And someone's going to listen to what we do, and someone's going to go vote. So your vote does matter in a way that you may not comprehend. The last one, just you're lazy. I think that's the biggest one. The voter turnout is typically weak. Now we got a special election coming up, which is even weaker. You do get to go out of work. They're legally supposed to let you go vote. It is a constitutional right. So enjoy that. Go vote and get yourself a sandwich. Use it as a break if you need to, but go vote. Stop being lazy. And if you vote, it gets you a chip in the game. You're allowed to bitch and complain about anything you want once you voted. If you haven't voted, I don't want to hear you talk.
And if it's still not good enough for you, your work is legally required to let you off to go vote. You don't even have to vote. You could just leave.
Now you're just helping people ditch work. Still, we encourage anyone who's listening tonight, or not just listening to this show, just be active. I actually signed up yesterday online. It's not hard. It took me all of 3 minutes. A monkey can sign up, and maybe we need some monkeys to sign up just to get voter turnout. Don't know what party they would take, though.
Green Party.
Green Party? Okay. Banana Republic. By the way, Kenneth, I'm glad to see you wore a shirt with minimal stains.
And it fits.
And tightness.
Yeah.
What do you mean, by the way, asshole?
And it begins with you. Tonight's structure, let me explain this real quick, and I'll have to explain when Clint gets here. But for you, Ted, tonight we are going to allow, as we ask you questions, it's not going to be a buzzer that hits at 90 seconds. Your thoughts on the topic at hand. I know that some thoughts cannot be expressed in 90 seconds. You can't fully flesh out a thought, and we want to know the truth and honesty from you, what you would do if you're elected for us in this valley. So you will get a chance to speak your mind all the way through. If you start to Jimmy Stewart me or get on your soapbox too long on something that doesn't matter, we'll call you down. If you Donald Trump me and spin the question around in that spin cycle of a mouth and spit back the same question, I will call you out on that. We're not going to allow that. We want to know Ted Miller and the Clint Olivier and the chair that is Arambula. We want to get to know those personalities. By the way, that chair seems kind of wooden. So
it's more metal.
Yeah. Arambula's metal. So that's how it's going to go. We're going to go back and forth and ask the candidates in the room to each have give their response, and then the after both people have talked, allow to retort if you need to. If not, we'll move on to the next subject.
Or fist fight.
Yeah. If it gets that hard, we do have a backyard. We could take a camera out there and knives only.
Tie your wrists together.
Go Michael Jackson's Bad with it. Beat it. One of those Michael Jackson things. That's a
Super
video.
Soakers.
Super Soakers? Oh, that just sounds soft.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, because of a delay, Clint Olivier will be here in a little bit, and we figured, Kevin, you brought it up outside. You thought it was a good idea. Clint has kind of had home field advantage here. He got to be on here. By the way, we helped ruin his political career by him being on here. Thanks, Ted.
So thanks for coming.
We figured we'd give you a chance now to just kind of tell us a little bit about you, the person that is Ted Miller, and why you are running. We'll keep the topics for later when it can get bounced between you guys. But for now, just get us a little bit of inside information of who you are.
Hey.
Instantly regretting.
Got this laughing machine sitting next to me. I'm going to talk about in a second.
That is a great description.
5 seconds of talking, he's already ripping on me.
We could replace him with a button, couldn't we?
We thought about it.
Hello, 31st Assembly District. Coalinga to Carruthers, Kerman to Kingsburg, Fireball to Fresno. Welcome to the Dirty Dowdy Podcast.
Bet you never thought you'd say that in your political career.
Someone's manager's getting fired.
Oh, Lord. My name's Ted Miller. I have lived in Carruthers for 9 years. I met a school teacher there, and that's what brought me to Carruthers. I was born in Montana. My grandfather farmed on a farm that was, you could throw a rock into Canada. And he was a dryland farmer. He planted his wheat, and if it didn't rain, he didn't have a crop. He also raised cattle. The town, I was born in the town of Havre, which is about the size of Firebaugh. My family's from the town of Turner, which is 75 miles away. So to put it in context, my family had to drive 75 miles for me to be born in a town the size of Firebaugh. So there you go. I'm a pretty small town. Grew up in Los Angeles. After high school, I went to the University of Southern California and got an engineering degree. So I lived in downtown L.A. behind the Shrine Auditorium. It was great when they had the Academy Awards, and they'd roll out the red carpeting and everything. After college, I went to work for HP. Eventually got into aviation. Started flying. Moved out to Hawaii. I've lived in, besides Los Angeles, I've lived in Santa Rosa, Hawaii, New York, Boston. Short stint in Alaska as a bush pilot.
Wow.
Had some adventurous, one step ahead of the law, as they say.
I'm liking you so much right now.
Careful. Down, big boy.
He's not very big.
Eventually, personal experience.
Nope.
Eventually, I went back to school and got an MBA. Got into consulting. Back into aviation. Was an assistant chief pilot for an airline in New York. I worked at LaGuardia. Kind of learned to love mass transit living in New York City. What else you want to know about me? I've had some athletic experiences in my life, which kind of defined my definition of endurance. I rode a bicycle, a touring bike that weighed 75 pounds with all my gear on it, and I rode from Vancouver, Canada to Tijuana, Mexico. 2004 miles in 21 days.
I'm tired right now.
Which I later figured out was about what the Tour de France is. They ride about 2,000 miles in 21 days. I did it on a bike that weighed 75 pounds with gear.
And both
Damn,
testicles.
And 2 testicles.
I've ran 6 marathons, did the Ironman, and paddled an outrigger canoe to Catalina from Newport Beach about 10 years ago. That's my most recent athletic achievement. So I've at approaching 60 now, I don't quite look like the marathon or Ironman I used to be, but it's in there.
Good God, the highlight of my career is I can put down a 12-pack without barfing.
Yeah. I could pee over a backyard fence.
I show up here every Wednesday.
So enough of breaking
training.
my arm and patting myself on the back. I don't normally get to talk about that stuff, but Clinton isn't here yet, so...
Why are you...
Who can we call him, Clinton?
Yeah, totally
I
call
like
him Clinton.
that. We're
I like
doing
that.
that.
Yeah.
We're
It's what his mother named him. I do it out of respect for his mom.
I'm with it.
Clinton, it works for me.
It does. It sounds good, man. Clinton.
Sounds
it depends on if you're comparing it to presidential
But
candidates.
we need a second syllable for your name as well.
Ted, I don't know, man.
Teddy.
Teddy Bear. I don't know.
No, you're Ted from the movie now. You're the cute, adorable bear.
There you go.
Sorry.
Minus the cursing.
Yeah,
my.
adorable.
Oh my.
What got you started in politics, and why are you going for it now?
I became interested in politics and reached out to the Amanda Renteria campaign. And I worked a lot on that campaign as a volunteer. I did sound engineering for their events. I'm an electrical engineer by education, and I worked in Hollywood recording studios while I was going to college. So, I know
You just pissed off our sound guy.
I'm sorry, man.
I quit.
I'm sorry. But all this digital stuff I don't understand. But, I appreciate Mike Gain. So anyway, I got involved with the Amanda Renteria campaign, and I became a precinct captain, going around getting people to vote, knocking on doors, and I had people approach me about problems that existed at Raisin City School with some of the administration and stuff. So I got involved at the Raisin City School District working with one of the school board members, and trying to improve the situation out there for the students and the parents. Got to know the people in Raisin City, and there's this lovely grandmother, Hispanic grandmother who speaks no English, who every time she saw me had a great big smile for me, and hugged me, and there's so much love. And so I just my heart just went out to this grandmother in Raisin City. And then as time went by, we got involved in this situation with a county chartered district out there, a water district. The Raisin City Water District was created in 1962. They've been in existence for 54 years. And I took a 12-ounce bottle of water to Raisin City and poured it on the ground. I've delivered 12 ounces more water to Raisin City than the Raisin City Water District ever has.
You've also wasted 12 ounces more.
Well, no. It's groundwater recharge is really important. So the Raisin City Water District exists out there and hasn't done a single thing for the community in the 54 years that it exists, except collect $40,000 a year in taxes. So they've sucked $2 million out of this poor community in Raisin City. Most of what they've done with it is pay CPAs to do their annual reports, probably go to the coast for meetings. Just there's no reason for them to exist, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, back to this lovely grandmother in Raisin City. She they had like a $2 a year assessment on properties. Okay, so it's really small, but it's really small. And everybody's like, "What's the Raisin City Water District for? What am I paying $2 for?" Forget it. And they send this thing out in English. There's no Spanish. So she ends up with her assessment adding up to $10. I don't know if it was late fees or whatever, but it got up to $10. So here's what they did. The Raisin City Water District put a tax lien on her property for a $10 easement. Now, what happens when you get a tax lien on your property for a $10 easement? The bank calls your loan. You have to, and then this really nice guy at the bank, really nice and helpful, refinanced her property. All right. So this sweet little Hispanic grandmother.
Was this around the year of 2006, 2007?
Yeah.
No, shocking.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
God damn.
So, she's probably got a, 7th grade education, if that. But most people, she's like, well, my payment went up $15 a month. Yeah, but it also extended about 12 years or something. It probably cost her $3,000 to $5,000, if not more, for that $10 easement. So she got righteously taken advantage of. Okay? This agency that did this, the Raisin City Water District, came up for review with the local agency commission that oversees these people. I went and spoke passionately about this project, about what had gone wrong. And we had lots of members of the community that spoke about this. And 3 Democrats, and this committee was largely, there was not one Republican on it, a couple of appointed guys, one Republican guy, and then 3 Democrats. So they ran the committee. Henry Perea, Brian Pacheco, Daniel Parra, Democrats. They voted against this grandmother from Raisin City. We asked them to make these guys do the right thing, do something about this agency, extend their whatever they had to do, put them on a short leash is what we wanted them to do, and we wanted this agency to do something about this situation. No, they voted against this grandmother in Raisin City because she didn't have a lot of money. This agency and some of the guys there had money.
So this is your inspiration to getting into the fight.
So Henry Perea especially, but also Brian Pacheco and Daniel Parra, who called themselves Democrats.
Sound like you have a hit list ready.
Got it, dude.
Yeah, and I'm on Dirty Dowdy, and man, I'm ready. I just hate me some Henry Perea.
A lawsuit.
I despise. I despise Henry Perea.
You would get the
Lawsuits
winner
can be
sound.
filed to. There is a question for you, Ted. We actually had a caller. We got a call back, and from somebody named Optimus Noob Gaming.
Yeah.
The
Wonderful.
question. This is the world of the internet here.
Okay.
We'll call him Steven. Steven wants to know: will you pledge now to your future constituents that you will actually finish your elected term or terms in office before leaving, unlike Perea and Olivier?
I will, barring health issues. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to leave for a lobbying
No,
job.
you have to promise that you won't die.
I promise I won't die. I hereby
I believe him,
raise
guys.
my hand, put my right hand on this Playboy
This table's a
sitting
bobble.
here. Yes.
Use this Riley's Vixen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Like Jonah Vixen.
yeah, I we've all taken that pledge because, I mean, Henry Perea, this is Henry T. Perea, the younger Perea, left this job to go be a lobbyist for the pharmaceutical industry. Now we have a medical doctor who used to live in Clovis and used to be a decline to state as a voter, and now he lives in Kingsburg. He moved down to Kingsburg and changed his registration to Democrat so he could run as a Democrat. Anyway, he's a doctor. He's got in the reports, he's raised $1.1 million directly. The PACs supporting him two of the PACs have raised $500K. The Democratic Party has gotten untold amounts of money. We were talking about all the mailers. I got 3 or 4 mailers today.
They have a printing machine.
Well,
That's where all that comes from.
and
Their own
that
press.
printing machine costs a lot of money.
Yeah,
You know?
we're framing one of those actually.
You know, when you're talking about 455,000 voters, there's probably on the order of 120,000, maybe 150,000 households. So a mailer is you're probably looking at $100,000 per mailer. So I got $500,000 in my post box in my mailbox today. That these guys are dumping on this race. And he says, I'm not a politician. Here's this list of these 30 politicians who've endorsed me, but I'm not a politician. Oh, great. So as I started to say, I mean, Henry T. Perea left. He abandoned the voters, abandoned his seat, abandoned his post to go to work as a lobbyist for the pharmaceutical industry. Now we have a doctor who's got $1.5 million, $2 million, $3 million dumped on him by the medical business. 75% of his money comes from doctor PACs, medical PACs, hospital PACs, doctors. It's PACs all over the place, and they're all doctors and medical, right? We'll get on to medical PACs and money and how much we spend on. Yeah, I'm not into this stuff at all.
We
I'm
actually
not
have
at
a
all
question.
interested. Another question. Okay.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Actually, we're calling him back right now. So I guess the question was opinion on. Well, let him ask you. It's one of our favorite ex-guests who thinks so highly of us that he said that we have a couple dozen. Dozen listeners.
I can hear something.
Is he one of our couple low dozens?
Yeah. Welcome to the Dozens and Dozens podcast, Philip. How you doing?
I'm doing real good. I'm pleased to see candidate Miller there, and I'm calling on Clint Olivier to buy a watch.
I got the heads up from them that they were running late, but he will be here shortly. At least he'll show up. That's good, as opposed to the chair in the corner here.
Hey, the chair showed up.
The chair is here.
Hey, Mr. Miller, I haven't had a chance to talk to you yet, and so I wanted to take advantage of Chris's little internet show to jump in here.
Thanks for that.
It's getting bigger.
Mr. Miller, do you believe that there is an indication of a candidate's ethical standing when they refuse to speak out against something like the PAC ad that took Olivier's comments out of context and manipulated them to send a false message? Do you think that speaks to the ethics of the candidate for refusing to say something about that?
Do I believe that it's an indication of his ethics? I'm probably not the right guy to ask about the ethics of the Arambula campaign. The interesting thing about, and this is, I'm learning how the sausage is made, and believe me, it's really interesting. It's quite a ride. There's the
There's the little Joaquin Arambula, shaking his little fist and waving his pen and talking about how hard he's going to work to build dams and how these doctors are spending $3 million to send him to Sacramento so he can build dams and fight for preschool. Sure, they are. So he tries to stay above the fray and everything, and so he's like Mr. Nice Guy, Mr. Teflon Don, or whatever. And then you run into this guy like Rich McIntyre, his campaign manager. You run into what the campaign does, and you've experienced some of the arm twisting. I'm going to send the attorneys, and we're going to do a.
I know nothing of this.
Yes. And everybody who's put on events. Marianne Cast from the League of Women Voters, who did the event at Reedley College. The Fresno City College, that turned into a little dust ruffle. Everybody who's held an event has experienced the Arambula campaign goes out of their way to try and keep me out of any events. What happened there was a debate on KC24 10 days ago or so. On February 16th, 2 days after Valentine's Day, I was invited by Evan Onstadt to be in that debate. Evan Onstadt says, happy journalist, hey, Ted, we want to have you in the debate. Okay, Evan, I'll be there. Okay, great. That'll be wonderful. 2 days later, the medical PAC supporting Joaquin Arambula placed $40,000 in ads on KC 24 and 47. We have a weird scenario in Fresno, by the way, but 24 and 47 are owned by the same company, okay? Which could not happen before we changed the laws under Reagan, I think. So anyway, 2 days after I was invited to the debate, the PACs placed $40,000 in ads. 2 working days after that, there was a weekend in between, so there was 4 days, but 2 working days after that, I was disinvited from the debate. Oh, our corporate parent company has got these standards, and we've decided you're not a viable candidate. I got to look at their standards of what a viable candidate was, and there's this and there's that, and you got to have signs, and you have to do events, and you have to do this and you do that. Oh, and number 5 is you have to raise $50,000. Okay, now this is the second poorest assembly district in the state of California. Mm-hmm. The chance of you raising $50,000 in this district from interested parties is like nil.
50,000 to 1, I'd say.
It's never going to... Now, if you're a doctor, if you've got doctors that want to send you to Sacramento so that you make sure they don't mess with the fact that California spends $216 billion per year more on health care than they do in the UK, which is over twice what we spend on education. Now, if you're a doctor that's going to be sent up there and you get $3 million, well, you're a viable candidate. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, you're very viable. Hand me some of that viability, will you?
Oh, yeah. It comes in 20s and 100s.
So, yeah, that's... So,
and it's on fire.
Yeah, Joaquin stays above the fray, and he's Mr. Nice Guy and everything. And then, the henchmen come in afterwards, and they break your legs, and they twist your arms, and they make threats. And,
I hope not.
Stuff like that.
I need my arms about to go back to work.
Okay. Did I answer that question, or did I get off topic?
Mr. Miller, you did a great job of answering the question. I appreciate you taking time to do Chris's podcast, and I look forward to seeing his facial expression when that comment about broken legs pops up on the live stream.
Okay, remember, man, if you don't vote, you don't count.
Guys, have a great night. Thank you.
Hey, Philip, real quick. Thanks, man, for the comment. I know I look good.
You look like Roland Martin, dude.
Hey, real quick, Philip, I have a quick question for you. Oh, AT&T cut my service off. That sucks.
It's AT&T, man.
You finally got to do it.
Yeah. That's for the dozens and dozens comment on KMJ. Well, tell you what. Let's take ourselves a little bit of a break here. We'll refresh. Kenneth, you can add some more fabric to your shirt. And
probably won't happen. I'm sorry. Walmart only gives you so much.
Don't take any fabric away from the shirt.
Yeah. And we'll be back. We should have Clint Olivier here at the start of the next segment or walking in as we go. But either way, we're getting straight to the debate. We're going to start asking the questions to all of our candidates. The empty chairs will matter at that point, so hopefully he gets here in time. Let's do this. This is the Dirty Dowdy Podcast here on Longbox.FM.
You're listening to the Dirty Dowdy Podcast on Longbox.FM.
Hey, what's up? This is Lars Ulrich from Metallica. And when I'm doing coke, I'm usually listening to the Dirty Dowdy Podcast, huh?
It's the Dirty Dowdy Podcast.
Dirty Dowdy Podcast is back here on this very special election podcast episode here on Longbox.FM, brought to you by Riley's Brewing.
Thanks, Riley's.
Cheers.
Thanks, Riley's.
Yay.
And normally Molestar jumps on that, but I see he's feverishly writing questions.
Nothing.
Notes, not questions.
Clint Olivier will be here momentarily, but that is not going to stop us from what we're doing. I'm sure he's listening. I know his campaign. I know some other people are listening. So he will be popping in. When you come in, Clint, just pop on in, sit down at your chair, and grab your headphones and be ready. We're going to get to the question here shortly. First, I'm going to address the people here that are running for state assembly. We got Clint Olivier, which we'll be talking to here momentarily, and we have Ted Miller, who's sitting here hanging out with us. Actually, awesome talking to you guys off air with you. You are a lot of fun.
How's it?
I believe you used the phrase this weekend as we were on the phone. Bromance was coming?
No, I don't think I used. I don't think I invoked bromance.
I will.
We had some fun talking about the my Democratic opponent's campaign staff. Or manager in general.
At the very most, you two had a bromance.
Bromance?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that could be it.
There's a hashtag.
We had a brief bromance in time.
And the
hashtag bromance in time.
Yeah, that credit's going to go to Ted. To address the other candidate sitting in the empty chair behind us. It's hard to get a job when you don't interview. That's all I got to say about that. If you want to run,
got to be hungry.
We want people who have a clean campaign, who show some honesty, show some character. We're getting character from Ted tonight. We've had Clint on the show before. We know that he's a guy that is great to talk to. Personable, someone that you can feel good about. And all of my interactions so far on the Arambula side, I'm very disappointed.
No, we want to feel that way. With Arambula, we do.
We
want to feel that niceness.
The invitation was there. Unfortunately, they haven't taken it. Ted,
here's my experience. Being in this other chair, watching the games that go on. I alluded a little bit to. I was ejected from the KC24 debate. Evan Onstadt wanted to be a journalist, but then the corporation came in and said, "Hey, dude, we're in this for the money, and the money's over here. So kick that guy off there." My experience with observing the Arambula campaign, if you will, is that they really want to have control over the debate. They want to have as much control as they can exercise, and they get that control by exercising by spreading money around. That's the only thing I can figure out. There's been some things that happened in the previous debates. The League of Women Voters, I think it was really clean. They went into that. That was well done. The there were a few shenanigans around the Fresno City College debate that looked like some of the people involved with that were strangely motivated to do things in favor of the Arambula campaign. I can't imagine how a campaign with $3 million at their disposal would be able to strangely motivate people to do things in their benefit, but somehow...
It's so weird.
It was so unusual, yeah. Just
Usually
sort of the stars,
they have rules against that,
the
don't they?
stars aligned. And,
Rules.
Son of a gun. So I think that the reality is that, you're not for sale. I think you're doing a.
Well, I want to be.
Yeah,
I really do.
And when you are for sale, I'm sure that they'll buy you, and then all the fun will be over. But until then, no. Honestly, I mean, the people at some of the local stations, they've been great. 96.7 Power Talk FM. They did a nice debate. I think that was really clean, and they invited me in this afternoon. So, not everybody is under the thumb. The local NBC CBS affiliate has cha-ching cashed the checks, and I think that I can see where they're going. I got a really nice interview on the local Fox station with Kim Stevens. She's a very nice person, a great interview, and they posted that today. So that's on the Facebook page, facebook.com/Miller4Assembly. The 4 is the number 4. There's no spaces, so you can go there and check out how I post a lot of things about Bernie Sanders and how Bernie Sanders really rocks. And we should legalize legalize marijuana.
I appreciate that comment.
Yeah. We're gonna have Clint actually calling in as he's driving here.
Clint.
Clinton.
And still, it's more of an effort than the third guy for this race. Clint, how are you guys? How are you doing?
Oh my goodness!
There he is.
I don't think I've ever been this busy in my life on the face of this earth.
Oh yeah.
Well, I guess that means I'm doing well. I mean, I'm alive, but been very, very busy.
Well,
and which let me just apologize off the bat right now. For being an hour late, and I had a scheduling thing, and I just appreciate you still going to have me on, not lock the door on me.
It's all right. You're still the first minute you're here. You're still 1 minute here faster than Arambula. So congratulations on that.
But if Arambula shows up, we're locking the door.
Ooh, challenge.
So he's not there?
No.
But
all right.
You sent the invite, right, Dowdy?
Yeah, the invite was sent out and in legal form coming back to me. So let's.
Yeah, Clint, Ted's here. I'm waiting for you to get here so we can talk about the Unison cell tower deal.
Is that you, Ted?
Yes, sir. Yeah, baby.
All right. Well, I'm gonna. Ted, I'm glad you're there. And you know what? Aren't they the most wonderful group of young people?
Oh, now he's flattering us, but he's right.
They're kind of stiff, and they really need to learn to let their hair down a little bit and relax. I mean, you kind of tell they've never done this before, and but they're starting to loosen up a little bit.
That's the Rileys.
Me and the Libertarian have been talking about Atlas Shrugged, and everything's great.
I knew you would be a great fit for the crew over there at Longbox, so I'm glad you guys are all having fun. Now, do you want me? I'm about 10 minutes away. Do you want me to just hang up and then come on live?
Yeah, I can talk about you for 10 minutes and get everybody all,
you know what? Let's go and do that.
All
right.
You're gonna miss the first couple questions, but I'm sure everyone's heard about your opinions on them. So,
yeah,
just come on in.
Everybody knows all about my opinion. All right.
Yeah, he wants to turn Fresno.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
All right, bye. Guys. Thanks.
All right, first question. I'm going to go ahead and just jump into this because we're not. We got to do this. The very first question I have here for tonight. I know a lot of people don't understand the role of assemblyman. And so can you give us your explanation of what the role of assemblyman is?
Well, the California State Assembly is the lower house in our legislature. There are 80 assembly members. If they were elected before 2012, then they have a 6-year term limit. If they are elected after 2012, they have a 12-year term limit. That's kind of makes a big that's a big deal now for Rendon, who's the new speaker, who's from Paramount, which is a lovely little neighborhood in L.A., south of Downey, north of Long Beach. I used to work at a Toyota manufacturing plant there when I was getting my MBA. I was a financial analyst. So we're back on the assembly. So
yeah, the role of assemblyman.
There are 80 members. Each one represents about 455,000 citizens. They're equally distributed, and it's like a legislative body. So there you go.
What is the main role once you get in? When you're sitting in there, what your job day to day?
Build dams. Build the gosh darn dam. Get water from north of the delta to south of the delta without going through the delta, because it kills the little fish when you suck all the water
There's
out.
only 7 of those left. I think it's time to go sushi on it.
And tragically, we have to keep them from dying, or else the environmental... actually, I mean, the amount of water we need to push through the delta it's a lot of water, and it causes an environmental problem. It seems like, how cool would it be to just shove all this water into the delta and then suck it out on the north side, suck it out on the south side. And it turns out that environmentally, there's some downsides to that, and we're running into a lot of resistance to it. So we just need to get the water across the delta from the north side to the south side without going through the delta. That's what the Twin Tunnels program is about, or we do a peripheral canal like we talked about. We need to come up with some method of doing that. We're all psyched up about building the Temperance Flat Dam. Temperance Flat Dam is going to add like 300 to 400,000 acre-feet of storage, basically more or less doubling Millerton Lake, the amount of storage we have. Now, what that means, by the way, is that's 300 to 400,000 acre-feet of water that we're not going to be forced to release as flood flow. Okay?
But where does the water actually end up going? Will it stay in the valley, or will it just be shipped down south or to the coast?
Well, one of the things that I want to achieve is I don't want to allow anybody in our county or our district to export water. But let's get back to the Temperance. So Temperance Flat is 300 to 400,000 acre-feet of storage, which means that we, at least on a yearly basis, there's 300 to 400,000 acre-feet of water that they don't have to release as flood flow. Now, when they release water as flood flow, that water is really cheap if people want to take it. Okay, so that they get really cheap water, the water districts and stuff around here. When they get really cheap water, they can sell those water rights, possibly outside of our county.
Yeah.
For much more than they pay for it. So it turns out that some of those people with water rights have a perverse incentive to not build Temperance Flat Dam, because there's 400,000 acre-feet of water that they're not going to get every year. That is now, it's not going to be flood flow. Flood flow is what you release when the dam is full and there's more snow melt coming down. We get on a normal year about 1.3 or 1.8 million acre-feet of flow down the San Joaquin River. Okay, we store about 400,000 acre-feet in Millerton with Friant Dam. So we're going to add 300 to 400,000 acre-feet of storage, basically doubling that. And my numbers are approximate, but they're pretty good. But so there are some water users or some water districts that have a perverse incentive to not build Temperance Flat Dam, because they generate revenue from that flood flow.
Creating a dam hurts their business.
It has a short-term effect on their income, and when you think like a corporation and all you care about is this year's income, this income statement, how much money do I get this year, they're not thinking 20 years down the road, 50 years down the road. Like, we need to think about our groundwater. Okay, so we need to understand that there are people in this equation that that may be saying, oh yeah, I think Temperance Flat's a really good idea, but then they kind of slow walk the whole concept. They drag their feet. We don't get the thing being built. So I'm a guy that's going to be up in Sacramento yelling and screaming and saying, how come we didn't start building Temperance Flat Dam yesterday? What is it? Why? What do you mean we're going to wait 2 years before we have a meeting? I don't think so. So
it takes time to do everything, doesn't it? Water. We obviously water rights. It's now doing a little bit of research on this. I realized that I'm trying to figure out a good way to get some facts and understanding of water in the same way I would like to just become an architect in 24 hours, and it's not possible.
That's like a 6-year project. I think it kind of boils down to whose ox is getting gored.
There's some very old water right laws that are going back centuries, to the old days, settlement days and everything here in the valley, that still stay in play with the families as they've come down, the big name families. Is there a point that, is it even possible to get those just eradicated and say we need to start fresh and we need to understand we have a natural resource that is scarce and we need to redistribute in a proper way? Is there any way that gets done? Or is there too much money and power to even consider that as a reasonable quest?
I think it's more the latter. I think, when you look at this Byzantine, some of the things that we go through in order to achieve what we need to achieve to distribute water around California and to deal with our water, we have water rights issues. We have environmental concerns with moving water through the delta, and that complicated maze that we have to go through to achieve our goals makes things kind of difficult. It would be, and I haven't spent a great deal of time delving into this really complicated subject. I've spent time educating myself, and the people that I've gone to, the experts in this business that have educated me, have kind of helped me understand that that is really so Byzantine and complex and nonsensical. There's not like 3 basic rules that you understand and then you got the thing. No, it's not like that. There's riparian water rights and there's these water rights.
So even in an apocalyptic society or situation where water is now the currency of the world, I mean, there's still no. Well, I guess in that world, I'm an idiot. There's no way. If you got it, you win. There's just, we have to work with what we have. So whatever little share gets pieced off somewhere, we have to work with that to give to the farmers.
The thing that impacts our situation the greatest, from the level that I've dove into this, which is as an engineer and a guy who's just dug a 400-foot deep, well for $20,000. The thing that I've learned, we talked about Temperance Flat Dam, 300 to 400,000 acre feet. Shasta Dam is 4.5 million acre feet. So it's like 11 or 12 times Temperance Flat Dam in the amount of water that it stores. And there's other storage basins on the north side of the delta. What we learned from that is that we have a lot of water north of the delta and a lot of our storage. And if we're going to get more water, it's probably, and a deal just collapsed about this, getting water from Oregon, but hopefully we can get back into that. But if we're going to get more water, other than desalination, which is kind of totally impractical, it's impractical for ag because it's way too expensive. It's practical for other things, but it's still expensive and it has a high carbon footprint. So now we're back to warming the planet. But if we're going to get more water, it's going to come from Oregon and or Washington or Canada. It's going to come from the north. It's not going to come from the south. It's not going to come from
the natural resource is stronger out there.
It's not coming from the Colorado River. It's not coming from Arizona. It's going to come from the north. So if we do get more water, we're going to need to get it across the delta. We're back to the problem of the delta. So we need to deal with the problem of getting water across the delta without messing up the environment of the delta.
Can't we just put some vape out and distract the hippies that are blocking construction?
My plan, I've got what I consider to be we're gonna the Twin Tunnels project or a peripheral canal or something, but probably the Twin Tunnels project, and we're gonna get support from the hippies to get more water into the Central Valley, because I'm gonna tell them we're gonna use that water to grow marijuana.
And you can put that water in your bong.
Really, we're going to grow really, really good marijuana.
So you're going with the carrot there, I see.
There you go. Yeah.
Yep.
They'll forget all about the smelt.
Well, they can eat it as sushi when they get high.
Or use it as bait for more fishing.
We know Clint Olivier's view on water, and it's not that it's a luxury, so just forget about that. If you have any questions, go to my website. You can find all the debunked myths that the opposition put out. And speaking of the opposition, I do want to give a chance to give a voice to Joaquin Arambula on his views of water. Joaquin?
Someone shake it.
Well, I gave him an opportunity. Let's move on to the next question here. Another big topic here in the Valley. High-speed rail. Now, this was voted on a few years back to be coming through. I know I made a glib comment to you on the phone, Ted, the other day about, when's construction going to start. You told me to go out to the Tuolumne Bridge. And yes, I understand they're starting construction. I have my thoughts that it takes forever and ever for these things to get done. And the budget has ballooned. So your thoughts, views, and what will you do with it when you if you get elected?
Well, it's destruction right now more than construction, but we're moving there. How'd you like that?
Very explosives.
Keep destructing.
I'm having a broment with the libertarian. Okay. Hashtag libertarian broment. Okay. So the high-speed rail project. It was envisioned as a $30 billion project. The voters approved $10 billion in funding for the initial portion of a $30 billion project. The cost of the project, the estimated cost of the project, has increased to $68 billion. There's been a lot of delays, a lot of legal delays. People fighting the project. It's a big project, but people are the way people talk about high speed rail. It's I was born in 1956. I'm 59 years old. So in 1960 I was 4 years old. In 1969 I was 13 years old. So between the ages of 4 and 13, we had the Mercury program, the Apollo program. We put a man on the moon.
Supposedly.
We built...
Allegedly.
Oh, my. Oh, Lord, I really am in crazy land. We built a space shuttle, and we built those things in Southern California, which is where I went to school. And when I was 13, I used to go to Rockwell International in Downey, and I was programming an IBM 360 mainframe computer. They had an outreach program. So... there were a lot of benefits to our society, and benefits like these smartphones, and all the stuff that we achieved from the space program. We're not going to get benefits like the space program from high-speed rail, but we put a man on the moon, and I got people saying you're not going to be able to cross the mountains, and I'm like, get out of here. In World War II, we built enough airplanes to block out the sun. We put a man on the moon. We built the space shuttle. We've done great things in California. Spain can build high-speed rail. Italy can build high-speed rail. China can build high-speed rail. France,
then what
Germany,
are we doing
and
wrong?
We can't.
We don't have any money.
Well, part of why we don't have any money is that Arambula guy and his doctors. We spent $216 billion per year more on medical care in California than we would spend if we were spending money like they do in the UK. We spend $9,000 per capita, per person, every man, woman, and child in this nation on healthcare expenses. That's $2.5. Okay, hold it. Let me before I pivot to that. So $9,000 per capita. They spend $3,600 per capita in the UK. So they spend $5,400 We spend $5,400 more per person than they do. That adds up to $2.5 billion in the 31st Assembly District that we spend over and above what they spend in the UK. That's $216 billion in the state of California every year that we spend over and above what they spend in the UK.
So is your solution, though, then to be taken away from some sort of medical side of things to help fund this, to keep it going? Because you're bouncing here from the high-speed rail to the medical side of things.
We have $10 billion in funding for high-speed rail. We have $3.5 billion in funding from the federal government that we haven't accessed yet because we haven't gotten to the point where we can access it. We need to build high-speed rail. We've got 215 guys and gals, high-paid construction jobs in Fresno right now. We need jobs in Fresno. You cannot say you're for jobs and you want to kill the high-speed rail program. You can't hold those two thoughts in your mind simultaneously.
I can.
Okay, so well, I disagree. I mean, I fundamentally disagree. We've got the funding approved. We need to build what we can now, and
Are
we
those
need to look
jobs
for a better future, and we need to build infrastructure to support a better future. I've been to Italy a couple of times and really enjoy traveling to Italy. In Italy, there's two kinds of towns. There's towns that have rail service. They're vibrant, they're growing, they've got a lot of tourism. And there's towns that don't have rail service, and they don't have any tourism. They're not growing, they're not vibrant at all. You really see a stark difference. It's a lot more expensive to drive cars in Italy, in Europe in general, but in Italy. But we're going to get to the point where we've seen gasoline at $5 a gallon. We're going to get to the point where it's $8 a gallon, $10 a gallon. We're not going to be driving these great big lifted trucks, getting 12. You
haven't been to Clovis.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Oh God, I just bought a truck.
So the reality is that what high-speed rail does is it gives us a rail connection to Los Angeles and to the Bay Area. There's 40 million people in the state of California right now. 20 million of them, half the population, lives in either the Bay Area or Los Angeles. High-speed rail connects half the state's population with each other. And the Bay Area is Mecca for high-tech. It's Silicon Valley. Los Angeles is Mecca for the entertainment industry, space exploration, the defense industry. We're going to connect those two meccas together through Fresno. And we're going to connect Fresno to those two population centers and the high-tech mecca of the Silicon Valley, the entertainment industry, the space industry down in Los Angeles. I don't see how that's bad for Fresno.
All right, so definitely you're for it, and you think that. Do you think by having high-speed rail finally finished, whenever that is, do you feel that is going to be a boon to Fresno, or start building Fresno, which is right now either the fourth or fifth largest city in California or county? Do you think that will help push us over the edge and actually start pushing us forward technology-wise and what we do? You leave Westwood, you've got this little cracker box house on this teeny tiny little lot. It's 1,100 square feet, and you feel all crunched in and everything. And you come up to Fresno, and you spend and you got some business or something. You're in the space industry, and you come to Fresno because we've got a lot of guys that work with stainless steel because we do a lot of food processing. So there's a lot of stainless steel manufacturing and stuff that goes on in Fresno. So these we start getting more defense and space business because we've got a lot of manufacturing in Fresno because of the agriculture industry and the food processing industry, stainless steel fabrication. And then you go to the Tower District, and you learn about how cool the Tower District is. You go to Sequoia Brewing Company, go to have some Sancha from Riley's beer. You see some of the nice houses near Fresno City College, on Cambridge and Harvard, and you get and you start to go, hey man, there's another life I can have, and I can have a nice big house, and Fresno's really kind of a cool town. It's got a small town feel, and I'm only like an hour and a half, 45 minutes from LA, and I can come down here a couple times a week. Yeah, I think that's going to happen.
My issue is the means to that end, though. Because you're taking the, publicly funded project like the high-speed rail, which is already now twice the balloon, the projected cost is already ballooned twice to what it was expected. What kind of efficiency is going to be expected after it's built? Is it going to be able to deliver what it's actually...
Hold on. Let's... because if you guys are watching on the video, you saw Clint got here. Let's get his opinion real quick on the high-speed rail, and then we can bounce those two off of you, Kevin.
Cool.
First, let me just say thank you so much for having me back. Thank you for your patience with me today and for me getting here tonight. Ted, it's good to see you, as always. It's been good to have you in this race.
Don't forget Joaquin over here.
And your perspective.
Oh, his chair.
You guys didn't go the cardboard cutout route.
No, I couldn't afford it in my budget.
Well, that's understandable. You look, might I say, incredible dressed right now. I mean,
I'm sitting right here, Clint.
Dowdy's vest is nicer than yours.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, his is buttoned too.
Ouch.
But that is a fake tie. It ends right at his vest.
Nope.
Does it? Is it
a full thing?
It's not a clip-on?
Not a clip-on.
Okay.
I'm legit.
You know what? I am so happy to return to the scene of the crime. Had it not been for this program, Arambula campaign would have had absolutely nothing to say.
Yes.
There would have been something. They would have found something. But you guys have made Joaquin Arambula what he is today. So I think that we should give him.
Still waiting for that advertising check.
Thank you, Dirty Dowdy Podcast, and everyone sitting at this table, especially the libertarian guy at the end, for making Joaquin Arambula everything that he is today. So, all right. So with that,
all right, let's take a break.
No, I don't favor the project, and Ted's heard me say it before. It started, the proposition that people voted for. It was for $10 billion. The ballot initiative promised people could get from the Bay Area to LA in like 3 hours. But now it goes from San Jose to Shafter. How many people in here ever been to Shafter?
Yeah, I've been there.
I think I drove through it once.
Wow, you actually got it.
Okay, I'm surprised. But anyway, Shafter.
I'm all over the
it was
people in Shafter are pissed that you're kicking Shafter.
Hey, their district.
I'm sorry,
it's
Shafter.
not in the district.
Really. It's not in the district. And, Clint's just rude. I'm sorry.
It went. Now, this is the kind of debate I like.
There you go.
This is good.
Yes.
No, it went from $10 billion and it went up to $68 billion. Now it's at $64 billion, and they changed the alignment. My problem is that it's going to require massive subsidy from our kids and our children's children. And there's no high-speed rail line that runs in the world right now without subsidy. I don't think we're there. We're not at a place where we can afford to pay these subsidies, and so I am not for this project at all. I think the money for it as we can spend it in other places, like for water storage. And so I've been this whole campaign trail. I've been out there, saying, hey, look, we can as Californians take this bull by the horns ourselves and move this money over so that we can have water storage. And the private investment that was promised to us has never materialized. The Congress under Paul Ryan and Kevin McCarthy is never going to vote to appropriate money for this project. And then you've got progressive Democrats like Gavin Newsom and others, Cheryl Brown, the assemblywoman down in L.A., and then some folks up north too that don't want this at all. It's not a Democrat or Republican thing. It's kind of people are starting to wake up to the idea that, oh my God, we're going to have a $25 billion train from San Jose to Shafter.
Well, Clint, I mean, it's become clear to me that you've never met any kind of a infrastructure program or a tax that you're not opposed to, and I understand that. I mean, you're the Tea Party guy, the Prop 13 guy, and stuff like that. And when I get into conversations with folks like you, I throw my hands up and I would say, you can go to Mexico. If you don't want to pay any taxes, if you don't want to have any infrastructure, if you want to have a water system that's falling apart, if you want to have road systems that are falling apart, Ensenada is a nice place. Go down and experience Mexico. It's really laid back. You can't. It takes hours to get from one place to another. You can't drink the water, but hey, the taxes are low. You have to bribe the police to protect you, and the drug gangs are running things. So
it's an infrastructure project.
But they got
it
their
started
drugs and
out as
guns
a
from
$30
us.
billion. It started out as a $30 billion project. It's gone up to 68. It's down to 64. I mean, it's moving around. This is the nature of big projects like this. It takes a lot of time. We've had the Tea Party Republicans down in Kings County fighting it tooth and nail. We don't want to give up this valuable farmland, and we're going to have to move this house. And so we had a 3-year court battle and tens of millions of dollars, spent by the Kings County Board of Supervisors fighting the program, to which they ultimately lost. So
I have a question for you. And this comes from I have a personal experience involving this high-speed rail. I've been for and against it at different times, and I think that's good for anyone to be able to not just be stuck on one way.
If you were an elected official, they would send out a mailer and call you a flip-flopper.
Yeah, I'm not. I have no chance.
Since
ever.
you're a private citizen, he's thoughtful and he's reflective.
Actually, I'm going to.
But as soon as you get elected to something, like Dowdy's a flip-flopper.
Let me say, and you missed out on the first the legal thing that I said. Hoping no one ruins your guys' career or more with tonight's program. But also, I'm okay with any elected official changing their mind, as long as they're not changing it based on who the audience is that day. Change your mind with knowledge is good. Also, from this point out, any questions we ask, feel free to say you don't know. That's also okay to not know an answer or not feel comfortable enough to say it, and I will accept those. Now, from that, let me just say, does anyone know who is the overseer of high-speed rail? Who gets to decide whether or not money is being spent properly?
No.
It's the High Speed Rail Authority, and they're held accountable by the state legislature, the LAO, the Legislative Analyst's Office.
And we need to move that office down to Fresno. They're up in Sacramento. They're not even on the line. And, we need more jobs in Fresno, so let's move the authority office down to Fresno.
The story, the thing that I know personally, I cannot say actual names because I think this could get some people in some shitload of trouble here. I do know of a company. I have a friend who works for a place who got the option to do a bid on one of the companies to replace, because they're moving a company that's in the line. But the understanding was they are getting paid a lump sum to do a bid that is going to be predetermined higher than the predetermined winner of this project. There were 3 companies. One was determined ahead of time that they were going to get it, and the other 2 were just going to make bids that were higher, and they got paid for their time to do so.
Democracy works.
When you're hearing about high-speed rail, it's hard for me to want to encourage more of that when you're hearing stories like that and going, that sucks. And who's the authority that gets to say yes or no or call these things out? Is there anyone that audits this stuff? And you're saying the high-speed authority, do they just have all authority?
There's oversight from, I would say, the LAO, the Legislative Analyst's Office, looks into that stuff. I don't know if they have an outside auditor. I'm guessing they probably do.
I would love any kind of outside auditor with everything politics. But
it's difficult to respond to something like that. If there's three companies that have the capability of tearing down the Tuolumne Street Bridge, and there are various other bridge tear downs or whatever kind of construction they have to do, and these guys all figure out, hey, you take this one, I'll take that one, I'll bid high on this one, so you get that one, and could that possibly happen? Yeah, I guess so.
And business is business, and I understand if there's trade-offs, but how many times is it trade-offs and it's all okay and fair, and then how many times is it just dirty?
Private enterprise, you're free to contract however you want. You're working with public funds. You're not allowed to do that.
Well, we have the initial segment, which is from, I think, Madera down to Fresno. That is phase 1. Phase 2 was Fresno to Tulare, I believe. And that phase 2 went to a company that was, I think, 20% below the other bids. It came in significantly under budget, and so it seems like the bidding process is competitive. I hope there isn't stuff that goes on like what you're describing, but I know that it's possible. I mean, Fresno Unified just made some ink in the B yesterday with what they're going to have to rebid the project because one of the board members was involved in profiting from one of the contractors who got the project. It seems like something like that. So,
kickbacks.
I'm not going to harp on this one too much longer. We do have, again, from the internet world here, the High Speed Rail Authority. What about the promise made to voters and their authority to revoke the project if it goes over budget?
It's what I like to call the prior investment trap. It's actually the prior investment trap is, well, we've come this far. We can't just stop because we've got all this invested.
We're almost at the point of no return.
That's how most failed marriages work.
We may as well. But the reality is in private business, if Coca-Cola or Tide or Procter & Gamble has a product that's failing, they pull the plug because the market says if you continue with this product or with this marketing or what box of Kleenex that it smells like something stinky or whatever, and then the market rejects it, well, they have to stop, or else they're going to suffer huge losses, and the shareholders are going to revolt, and they're going to sack the CEO. That's how it works in private industry. In the public sector, you get the prior investment trap, where they say, well, gosh, we've laid 9 miles of track, and at a cost of $20 billion, we may as well go the extra $6 billion or the extra 6 miles for the extra $40 billion because we've already got that. No. You scrap it. It's bad, and it's not just with HSR. It's with a lot of these government programs and projects. You throw good money after bad, and so that's where the private sector differs from the public sector. Is that prior investment trap?
Well, I'd like to observe that this debate is really kind of a different experience for me because Clinton has never rolled out the gravelly voice Clinton before. And the old, Dad, gone it there, Pepito.
You're doing a different voice.
Program. So this is a lot of fun. This is a lot of fun. And then Clinton and I get to face each other now. So this is great.
And again, the purpose for tonight is for our listeners to hear not only your guys' views on different issues, but to actually get to know the people. And you two in this room, Clint, I've known you for a little bit. Ted, I've known you since this weekend. And both of you, I think, are awesome. And I'm feeling more and more comfortable with who I would want to throw a vote to. And that's what I think is important and why we do the format we do.
We're building some bromentum.
Man, bromance, just word of the day. Bromance.
Why do you call me Clinton? Are you Theodore or are you just Ted?
I'm Ted.
You're not Theodore.
I called you Clinton because I respect your mother. I figure she named you Clinton. And out of respect for your mother, I use the name that she gave.
Well, I like to be called Clint, but if your name is really Theodore, then I will return the respect to your mother, and I will call you Theodore.
Oh, he's talking about your mom.
Mine is Ted.
It's just Ted.
It's Ted.
All right.
It's not Edward. It's just
right,
Ted.
Edward.
Right. I want to move on to the next question.
This is hard hitting, Chris. This is hard hitting.
Serious stuff. Hey, back to the high-speed rail thing. It's a big complicated project. It's an infrastructure project. It is a great effort. When you are doing big projects that are great efforts, you're going to have naysayers. I think this project, if we had the level of naysayers on the space program, we would have never almost put a man on the moon when we had to fake it in a Hollywood studio, right? We would have never built the space shuttle. We would never have the satellites up in space that we rely on today to beam this signal to Afghanistan. So I'm not willing to let the naysayers, strangle the baby in the bathtub. This project, it's going to connect Fresno, the Central Valley, with the Bay Area, with Los Angeles. If we don't build that connection, and 50 years down the road when gasoline is $15 a gallon and you have to drive a car over the Grapevine to get to Los Angeles and it costs $250 equivalent in gasoline or what have you, we're going to severely hurt and hinder Fresno. And we have an opportunity with high-speed rail to really make a difference in the future of Fresno.
Sorry, I was giving you the bell.
End of round 2.
Yeah. All right. Let me give Mostar. He wants to say something. We are going to move on to the next topic.
Yeah, this would be the in regards to the high-speed rail too, and this is me kind of having my foot in my anarcho-capitalism principles.
Your mouth?
My mouth. That's where it's at. So the high-speed rail is being gone through. The project's moving ish. I voted against it. I'm sure I'm not the only one. My issue is that I am still paying for it. So although we have a right to we can agree to disagree.
Oh God, flashbacks.
I don't have the ability to act on my disagreement because I don't feel that we could spend money to pour into it. I don't feel that the project is going to bring any kind of efficiency. I mean, it's got government on it, so that's just the first indication for me. And I'm a little bit biased in that regard.
Idaho's beautiful this time of year.
Excellent. I might consider that.
He actually has been considering these things.
Yeah.
Upper Idaho.
Its principle is that I don't want to pay for it, but I'm forced to. And that's where the line is drawn for me. Beyond the benefits, either one way or the other. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that was built on slave labor too, but it's still wrong.
But we're going way too deep.
Oh no!
Calm yourself.
Just saying.
How about when we slaughtered the Indians when we came to California for the gold rush?
Did we get the gold?
We have most awkward plug.
No, the principle is that I voted against it and I'm still paying for it.
I understand that, and
you signed the social contract, didn't you? Didn't you get a copy of the social contract?
Yes.
Yeah. I was against the Iraq War, and we're paying for that big time.
Yeah.
You look at the cost of the Iraq War, and I think high-speed rail looks pretty cheap.
I think he just admitted he's an anarchist.
All right, calm yourself. Next question.
Hey, Arambula campaign, are you listening? Your next ad is right there.
Well,
Ted Miller.
Technically, his chair's listening.
Ted Miller.
And you can write the check to Longbox.FM this time.
Ted Miller is in his own words.
Okay,
listener question.
Yeah, permission to use my sexy voice.
We'll go Ted first on this one. College, your plans, if you go in, or your views on college, making it cheaper, making it affordable for students, or just in general, take it however you want to go with college and tuition.
You go.
I'm first. Yeah, like you said.
We flipped the chair.
But he gets for being on time.
Right? Are the headphones working? These headphones working? Okay, great. Starts out kind of slow and then peters out altogether. College has gotten ridiculously expensive. I graduated from USC. I put myself through college, and I had state scholarships and grants, I ended up with like $5,000 in student debt when I graduated from USC in 1979, and got a job paying $28,000 a year. So I got a job paying 5.5, 6 times, what my student debt was. People are graduating from college now with $80,000, $100,000 in student debt. I don't think they're making $500,000 a year.
No,
it's
ridiculous.
Not yet.
No,
what we've allowed this to grow into. Just today, they tried to pass a bill to lower the student debt interest rate to 0.75%, and it got knocked down, and the Republican-dominated House of Representatives instead wanted a 10.5%, I think, interest rate. And Clinton, you mentioned the Speaker of the House and McCarthy. Ryan and McCarthy not supporting high-speed rail, and November's coming. 3/4 of the House of Representatives is up for election in November, and we're going to see a lot of excitement around the election in November. It's a presidential year. Either Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton are going to be on the ballot, and hopefully against Donald Trump, because that will definitely ensure a Democratic victory. But back to college.
It'd be great for my show.
Right. College has gotten way too expensive. Community college should be free. It's $50 a unit for community college right now. That comes to like $1,000 a semester for a full load. $900 and some odd dollars per semester. That seems That seems pretty expensive for a community college when it used to be virtually free. I come back to my, I'm pro decriminalization, legalization of recreational marijuana use.
Hear, hear.
We spend way too much. When I look at where we were as a society when I was in school in the 70s, before the big war on drugs thing, and we look at how many people we have incarcerated in this state, the number of people incarcerated, the percentage of the population, and the number of people incarcerated has ballooned. It's huge.
Mm-hmm.
And we spend like $60,000 per inmate to incarcerate these people. A lot of people are incarcerated for nonviolent marijuana-related crimes. I have a really, really good friend. He's a Christian. He's one of the nicest guys that I know. His son-in-law was arrested for growing marijuana in Mendocino, and he's in prison. And because he had a firearm on the premises, because it's a cash business, and
Got to protect your property.
Second Amendment and stuff like that. But because he had a firearm on the premises, the term of his imprisonment was vastly increased. I'm kind of wandering. But back to college. So we're going to legalize marijuana. We're going to
be careful there now.
In November,
when you say we are, we will talk about this later.
We might want to think about doing it in the assembly instead of this crazy, proposition process, because sometimes propositions say one thing and they do another, like the water not trains proposition that they we're going to take all that high-speed rail money and we're going to build dams instead. Actually, no, you're not going to, because what that's going to do is throw the whole mess into the court system, and you're not going to build anything for like 10 years while the attorneys make a lot of money on their fees.
Okay. Hold on. Let me keep
wandering.
the focus on college education and stuff. You're saying you want to try to find a way to make community college free.
It should be.
And then standard college,
we're going
to
spend less money on incarcerating prisoners. We're going to save a lot of money because we're going to, shorten or end the prison terms for the people that are in prison for growing pot in Mendocino. Because now it's legal. Now we got a job.
You sound like you're making a lot of bold claims. Like I know Arambula has got in his ads, he's going to fix Sacramento. That's a bold statement right there.
I added up Arambula's spending wish list, and he's at like $79 billion of all the stuff that he wants to do.
Yeah.
He's never said no to any project, and he's never said no to any tax.
Yeah, Arambula is he is everything for everybody, because what he's in my humble opinion, and from observing, basically the medical PACs, hospital PACs, and doctor PACs have backed up the truck and they've dumped millions of dollars on his campaign, and that's what's paying for all those direct mail pieces. I got 3 or 4 of them today, and they're like 80 grand, 100 grand.
I think I got
piece.
4 today.
Yeah, 4, right? The one pointing to the Longbox.FM thing.
Damn, I only got 3,
I appreciate
guys.
That. So anyway, Arambula, in his speaking, he's for the dam, he's for childcare, he's for this, and he's for that, and he's going to build a medical school. And I don't believe that the doctors and the medical PACs and the hospitals are sending him to Sacramento to do those things. Mm-hmm. I think they're sending him to Sacramento so that he ensures that we keep spending $216 billion each year more than we should be for medical care. California needs to go to single payer medical care. We need, and we're large. We would be the 8th largest economy if we split us out of the U.S. and ranked us. We're larger than Italy. We're larger than Spain.
All right.
Okay. Italy's got single payer.
I want to give Clint the opportunity to his response on the college education.
I support community college. I think it's an affordable option for folks. I think that community colleges. Well, I know that community colleges are covered by Prop 98 funding, which guarantees an increase every year per student. So they continue to take money in. I think you have a great option in community colleges to get your general ed out of the way for a value, a good price.
For what it's currently at.
Right. And then you transfer to a 4-year school of your choice once you get your transfer units or your associate's degree transfer over. And then that's a good start. You know what? There's waste, fraud, and abuse going on at the CSU level and at the UC level, and we just heard it has been in the news this week that they're admitting out-of-state students into the UC system because they pay more, and so for money they're taking non-Californians into our schools to make money.
Oh yeah, it's like for an out-of-state Fresno State student, it's like $16,000.
Yeah. And so what we're seeing is Californians aren't even getting a chance to get educated, and that the UC system was set up for Californians. So I think that there's some work that needs to be done here at the state level to I don't think these administrators need to be making these exorbitant salaries that they are
exist.
Or right. Or exist. And so yeah, I think we've got work to do, but thank goodness for the community colleges.
Ted, the response to this.
I went to community college before I went to USC and transferred to USC and finished up my engineering degree there. So I'm totally in favor of community college. To wrap things up, we're spending way too much money in prisons. We need to cut back on what we're spending on prisons, and that's going to happen when the legalization of marijuana passes. It's like a 96% chance in November. If anybody had told me when I was in college there would come a time when marijuana would be legal in Oregon and Washington and it would be illegal in California, I would have told them they're nuts.
Yeah, talk about freaking mind blow.
Colorado has not descended into anarchy.
Actually, quite the opposite. Well, anarchy would be great, but
they paid their debt off, as I recall.
I mean, no, they're opening up some tremendous industry with hemp. There's all kinds of cultivation going on with that. I mean, there's taxes that's been pulled in on it has been insane. I think even the first day it was legal there back in 2015.
And a shout out to my friends in Coalinga. I really wanted to be in Coalinga this evening, but
we win.
Yeah, we win. They're working on an oil and extract processing facility in Coalinga at a former small prison that is no longer being used, that has been a white elephant for the city of Coalinga, and they want to use it for processing of cannabis because it's got the security and the cameras and everything. It's all set. It's everything they need. It totally makes sense. And the city council of Coalinga is considering this. There are forces in Fresno County that are trying to twist their arm, and I think that I'm starting to see from the Fresno County supervisors some movement where they're starting to become a little bit more reasonable, because it is really clear that in today's environment that the legalization is going to pass in November. It's a presidential election. It's like
easy win basically.
I know this is a good one, and actually we have internet people who are blowing me up here wanting to ask specific questions about the marijuana stuff, but we will get to that later. We do need to. The next question I actually have, and you've been touching on it kind of briefly in a way, we have somebody here in the audience, Katie Tempesta, who's been part of the show in the past, but she does have a very significant question to ask both of you, your views on it.
Hey, Katie.
Hi.
Step on up to that mic, Katie. Yeah.
Okay, so Ted, I've kind of gotten to know you a little bit since Clint wasn't here. So I'm going to start this question off with you. What do you know about prison realignment, also known as AB 109, and can you describe it to me in a few sentences?
Well, we have massive overcrowding of our prisons, and I think AB 109 is intended to remove or reduce some of that overcrowding. I don't know if it's AB 109 related, but I actually had kind of a tragic situation occur with a family friend, so I'm probably a person who, since I know somebody who's suffered a criminal act. A guy was released from Chino, went up to Lancaster, killed a World War II vet and his wife, did a home invasion on a family friend of ours who is 85 years old, a woman, beat her up, stole from her. He went down to Torrance, robbed a jewelry store, and was shot by the jewelry store owner and killed. So, this the release of inmates. I have a personal experience now with that, and all this happened, by the way, in the last 2 weeks. So,
but was it AB 109 related?
I don't know that. I don't know if it was. He was in for burglary.
Okay.
And I honestly don't know a lot of the details about AB 109. I know that the intention is to reduce our prison overcrowding. We've got a court order from a judge.
Supreme Court.
We have to do, or the Supreme Court. Okay.
U.S. Supreme Court. Yes.
That's a court order. But yeah, 9 judges. So I think that we have, the facts that I do understand about is we have to reduce prison overcrowding, or else, it's like open the gates, and let them out uncontrolled, and that's a problem.
Clint, I'm going to ask you the same question. What do you know about prison realignment, AB 109, and can you describe it to me, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I know about it because we deal with it every day in the city of Fresno, because these people are running amok in our city. Basically, AB 109... 2011, 2012.
11, yeah.
It's supposed to take nonviolent offenders, get them out of state prisons, and house them in county jails. That means that since we're housing these people in county jails, that we can't hold people that we arrest. And so that's the revolving door. That's the guy that came to my house and tried to kill my family that got released immediately with a misdemeanor vandalism charge. He tried to kill us. And so AB 109 is not working. It was a bad idea. We need to take a look at this criminal justice system that we're operating in the state of California in the United States. But this is just not the way to do it.
It is a catch and release a felon program, and I you'll hear my story in a minute. And then my last question is just for both of you, and either one of you can go forth. What efforts, as the 31st Assembly member, would you contribute to help restore public safety? And either one of you can take the turn first. I don't care.
Well, my mother's a retired L.A. County deputy sheriff. So having a law enforcement officer in the family, that's very important. We've had cuts recently in police efforts in Fresno, which have been restored now, and we're beefing up the policing in Fresno. So that's good. We need to make sure that we have all the tools necessary, especially, back to the marijuana thing. When we legalize marijuana, we're going to
we're just talking about public safety, not marijuana. We're not talking about anything else other than that.
We're going to have tax revenue from the taxation of that, and what that does is it's going to create a very hungry monster down south of the border in the drug cartels. They're no longer going to have the cash flow from the illegal marijuana smuggling, and so they're going to pivot over to cocaine and heroin, and we're going to see a lot more of that. So we're going to have some real significant problems. We need to replace some of the revenue that our law enforcement is going to lose from property seizures related to the marijuana programs, because they're going to need resources to deal with cocaine and heroin. They're going to try and flood the market to replace their cash flow.
And Clint?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. So as the 31st Assembly, district, if you were to be elected, what would you do, specifically in Fresno, because you would be pretty much all of Fresno County, what would you do to help restore that public safety that has been demolished?
Mm-hmm. Well, I have a great relationship with Chief Jerry Dyer, and I have a great relationship with Sheriff Margaret Mims, and I think generally speaking, we have good law enforcement here in our area. People that are interested. I mean, from the highest level, interested in community policing, interested in being responsive and respectful with the communities that we patrol. So, I mean, look, I got to leave a lot of this stuff to the locals, but we have good locals here. So, I mean, look, I've been successful on the city council at bringing home the bacon for my district. There's going to be a big announcement here in the next couple of days in terms of law enforcement in my district, in the city of Fresno. And so, I defer to the locals in terms of how to do it. The question is, can I bring the resources back that they need to do their jobs? And I've done that in the city, and I'll do it. I'll do it in the state as well.
Right. And I, just to end with my segment, I appreciate the both of you answering my questions, and the only reason why I'm so informed on AB 109 is because this is my mom, and she was murdered by an AB 109 releasee. It was here in Fresno. It was a triple stabbing, September 10th, 2012. It was officer involved. I don't know if I should disclose his name on the radio, but if you Google it, it was a Fresno police officer in the Tower District, and it was a triple stabbing, and unfortunately, this is all I have left of my mom because of AB 109. And
I'm very sorry about that.
Because of AB 109 and, just going through this for the past 4 years, I have spent my life, and that's now what I'm doing in college. And, I'm going to be graduating Fresno City. I'm going to be transferring to state in the fall, and I've spent my life, continuing to work towards public safety goals. And I've worked with, Chief Dyer and Margaret Mims on several occasions. And so that's why, public safety was a big thing that I couldn't really find other than your debate, in regards to what your two opinions were on it. And that's why I wanted to bring it up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katie,
for sharing.
Yeah.
And I think, well, it's a big story there. You guys obviously got hit. We're trying to do the blind side there, and I think it all went very decently. One person matters.
We have to. We're running for this office. Yeah. We have to be able to communicate with everyone, and we have to be able to do it on the fly.
Absolutely, everyone's got a story. I got a car stolen out of my driveway. She lost something way more, but everyone has something they need. I want to take a break here real quick. So everybody can kind of relax real quick, stretch. I do have some very specific questions for each of you, and we have some internet things. So we're going to do a real fast break. You guys who are tuning in at home, please keep listening, keep tuning in. We will take your calls. We're going to go more towards the internet crowd who has specific questions. Ted, you're going to love this. It's all coming up here. It's on the Dirty Dowdy Podcast on Longbox.FM.
It's the Dirty Dowdy Podcast.
All right, we're back. Professionalism has been put out to bed. This is the Dirty Dowdy Podcast here on Longbox.FM, brought to you by Riley's Brewing.
Cheers! Thank you, Riley.
Thanks, Riley.
Mahalo.
We got about 30 minutes left that we're going to fire off, and then we're done for tonight. I'm really enjoying everything we got. Clint, Ted, thank you guys for coming on and hanging out with us.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
And I think that so far we're all still friends here, right?
Of course.
Okay, well, then with that, I got some questions for you.
Even though you guys destroyed my political career, we're all still friends.
You destroyed your own political career. You said those words.
Yeah, you used words on our show. That was really your fault.
In our defense, we have some pretty nice vests on.
Yeah. Now remember, in the future, if you want to not have anything used against you, take the role of Joaquin Arambula tonight, where you sit there in a chair and say nothing. Thanks, Joaquin.
Thanks, Riley.
I got a couple specific questions for each of you. I got some people who've been hitting me up asking me questions they want to ask, and I've kind of filtered through. One question for you, Clint.
Yes.
Going into this, you are independent, Republican sided in a a state assembly that's got 80 people, and I think it's at this point, I had it earlier, 30 or so that are Republican. So basically, you're a minority candidate. What if you get elected? What can you actually accomplish, or will you just be there until you move up or out?
No. I mean, I don't have any ambitions to go beyond the state assembly. I want to serve my neighbors. I've served them on the city council for 5.5 years. I've done a good job. They know me and they trust me, and they've sent me to City Hall twice. And it's my firm belief that in whatever 5 days they'll send me up to Sacramento. And there's a lot that I can do. Just remember that Joaquin is completely bought and paid for by special interests. They are afraid of me. They don't like me. They should be afraid of me because I will be an independent voice for my neighbors up there. People up in Sacramento, the special interests that are spending $1 million to defeat me. They don't care about us down here in Fresno and outlying areas. People in San Francisco don't care about us, and neither do people in LA care about us. They think their food comes from the store. And so, I mean, there are a number of
Whole
things.
Foods.
Right. They think it comes from Whole Foods, which, I mean, we can't knock because a lot of our growers, our operations they grow especially for Whole Foods. But you know what? Andy Vidak, who's a senator who represents the south part of Fresno and the east side of the valley, has been successful. He's a Republican. He's a common sense guy. He's a very thoughtful guy. He worked across the aisle with Democrats to bring the water bond forward, which will provide $1.5 billion for the dam. And so I want to work along the Vidak model. Vidak's popular. People like him. People who are diehard Democrats crossed over to vote for Andy. And so I want to do as Andy has done, which has been very successful up there. Things have changed a lot up in Sacramento. There are now 12 years. When you get elected, you get to serve for 12 years in the state assembly. That's double what it used to be. So instead of like this frantic craziness when you get up there, I got to get something done, I got to do this, I got to do that, there are relationships now. And Democrats are building relationships with Republicans. And so you're starting to see Republicans even chair a committee. I think that Cacho Ashadurian from the Central Coast actually chaired, I think, the Public Safety Committee up there. And so you're starting to see Sacramento shift a bit. And so, there's absolutely a ton of stuff that I can do. I can be effective. When I got elected in the city council, people say, well, what are you going to do? You can't get anything done up there. I've been a success there. And so I think it's important to remember when people are deciding in this election, I think it's important to remember, do you want a guy who's a stooge of the Speaker of the Assembly, or do you want someone who will be an independent voice? Because I tell you what, if Joaquin crosses the Speaker of the State Assembly, it's a very powerful dude. And if Joaquin crosses him, he will be taken out. There's an assemblywoman named Cheryl Brown, and she's in L.A. right now, and she's fighting for her life because she voted her district one too many times. And so the leadership of her party is taking her out. And so you can read all the tons of mail they're dropping on your head, and you can watch his snazzy ads that are paid for by Sacramento special interests. But you're not getting an independent voice. You're getting somebody who's a stooge of the Speaker of the State Assembly, and they will come calling for votes. And if he does not vote their way, they will take him out.
Well, I've seen you've had a fight going on with this election. Will you continue that fight? Will you put the middle finger up on something, even if it's not with party line, even at risk of your political career, as you're just talking about this lady who's about to lose her spot?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you something else. I've talked with Republican leadership. They know who I am, and they know what I'm doing down here. And they have encouraged me to be independent, and they have encouraged me to fight for my district, and they have encouraged me to win this election and then take that momentum and that power to Sacramento to fight for my neighbors. And so absolutely, I can do it. I've been independent on the council. You know what, though? I'm not going to Sacramento to throw rocks. Yeah, anybody can throw rocks. I got a lot of rocks that are being chucked at me every minute on it's okay, Chris, on television and on the radio and on Spanish language radio today, where they came out, accused me of wanting to build a wall and break up families. More lies. And the reality is that it's easy to throw rocks when you don't have a record. But I don't want to go to Sacramento throw rocks at them. I'll let the hard right-wing guys from hard right-wing parts of the state, their mission is to go up there and throw rocks at the assembly. I want to go up there and I want to work. I want to bring stuff to this district, and I want to get things done.
Okay. I have another question, and it was asked to Ted earlier in the show from the interwebs here. We'll call him the guy Steve. And Steve's he's been strong against you a little bit tonight in the chat room, but he wants to know: will you pledge to your future constituents that you will actually finish your elected term or terms in office before leaving to have whatever next possible
for
thing?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I
obviously he's referencing leaving city council to run for this shot.
Right. Well, Steve, if I win and there's a special election, I have pledged to help cover the cost. Where's Steve?
Just wave anywhere. Yeah, there you go.
Steve?
You did it.
that one.
Up there.
All over. That one.
Steve, I'm running for this seat because I have some neighbors who want me to run. They want me to take what I've done and accomplished at the city level up to Sacramento. I'm leaving early, and I have already pledged that I will use my campaign funds to help cover the cost of any special election should I win. And that's not something that Joaquin is calling on his friends to do. He hasn't called Henry to pay the cost of the special election, and but he thinks I should. But I will. I've made that commitment, and I will finish out my term, Steve.
Okay. I hope he's happy with that. Ted, question for you, and we kind of actually chatted about this on the phone the other day, so you probably know what's coming. The media, everyone has been describing you, whether you get to do a debate or not get to do a debate, but you are kind of being described as a minority candidate who has no actual play in this election. That you were more someone to take votes away from Arambula. Can you justify your I gotta find the word. I probably should have actually written this down. Can you explain that or convince us that you are not just running to take votes away or to be a thorn in someone's ass, and that you actually want this, and can you take it?
Well, let's
Sorry,
see.
I'm bad at wording.
That's okay. $1,000 to register as a candidate for the special election. $1,000 to register as a candidate for the regular election. So I get to spend $2,000 to be in this race. Back in early January, I talked earlier about how fond I am of Henry Perea. Back in early January, I took a look at Joaquin Arambula, a guy from Clovis who was registered as declined to state, moved down to Kingsburg. Oh, not yet, not in Kingsburg yet. He's talking about being a Democrat from Kingsburg a month before he moved to Kingsburg and re-registered as a Democrat. He's a physician, and 75% of his money comes from medical PACs and doctor PACs. And I said, that doesn't sound like. It doesn't sound like the guy's a Democrat. It doesn't sound like he's working for the 31st Assembly District. I mean, we've got some doctors that live in the 31st Assembly District, but not a lot, and they're spending, I wish it was only $1 million, Clint. He's raised $1.1 million, $500K in special PACs, and then the Democratic Party is spending a lot of money. And I'm a Democrat, and I feel, throwing the Democratic Party under the bus, but
Well, I don't want to interrupt you, but John Ellis from the Fresno Bee was on NPR this week, and he said that they are spending and running a campaign the same as they would for an incumbent, and that's unprecedented.
Well, I don't think you'd spend that kind of money for an incumbent, would you? I mean, I
guess it happens, but
no, I think they're spending 7 or 8 times what they'd be spending on an incumbent.
From what I heard, the reason why they've gone so aggressive is that they need that I next to their name come the June election, because it's so much easier to keep the seat once you're an incumbent.
What you're saying is they're throwing the Hail Mary. They really want to win this April 5th special election. They're pulling out all the stops,
except being on this show,
to try and get to 50% plus one. Well, they're not on the show because Rich McIntyre can't control you and can't control the outcome of this. This is a.
If he had just given me $50, man.
Well, he doesn't. And if you'd made that clear to him, he would have given you a lot more. I believe me, he spent a lot more than that. I'm sure. Bless his sweet heart.
If you do get elected, you will go wholeheartedly into this. If you do get elected, you're not just in it for the fun of being in it.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of money.
It's not a hobby.
No.
Yeah.
No. It's been an incredible wild ride. I was such a wide-eyed, want to be politically active when I got into this, and then I found out what the Democratic Party in Sacramento is really like. And I'm a Democrat and I have Democratic principles, but I see all this stuff going on with Bernie and Hillary and some of the dirty tricks, and I'm like, I totally get it.
It's near identical to what happened to Ron Paul in 2012 with the Republican Party.
Yeah, but I'm a Democrat running against a Democrat. And the party is, I don't really think they're all that enthralled with Joaquin Arambula. I think that the medical PACs and the physician PACs have said, hey, get this guy elected and we'll give you lots and lots and lots of money. As long as you don't do anything to mess up this $216 billion that we're getting in medical spending in the state of California that we, really should pare down. As long as you don't do anything about going some crazy idea like single payer, maybe stripping insurance companies out of this and, figuring out a single payer solution for California because California's big enough to do it. I think that they understand, why they want a person in Sacramento. They're not sending a doctor to Sacramento to fight for dams. They're not sending a doctor to Sacramento to fight for high-speed rail, to fight to lower the cost of a college education, to make community college free. They're sending a doctor to Sacramento to keep us from getting single-payer health care and to preserve their $216 billion a year in excess payments they get.
I have a question now. Follow-up for both of you. Let's just say, in fantasy make-believe world here, Arambula gets that 50% plus one on April 5th. Come April 6th, what do you guys do? What's your next step? Whoever.
I don't know. I'm going to be at the beach or at Disneyland on April 6th.
Okay, April 18th.
I have no idea.
Okay. So are you done with politics if you don't get this?
Well, if I don't get this, I've got 2 more years of politics on the Fresno City Council.
You're not on the June 7th?
Oh, yeah, I'm on it.
Well, yeah. Well,
Okay, so you continue the push.
Well, I don't know. Do we want to run against a sitting incumbent Democrat assembly member?
Yeah, but
who's going to have access?
You're on the ballot. You spent the money.
Right.
Can you drop? I don't know. I haven't even thought about it. I haven't thought about it. But I know what I'm doing on April 6th.
What is that?
What are you doing on April 6th?
We have a community cafe at the Methodist Church in Carruthers. I'm making pot roast, mashed potatoes, and gravy for 100 people.
101.
107.
Yeah, we're all going.
Hey, Dirty Dowdy crew, internet world, come to Carruthers. I'm making awesome pot roast, mashed potatoes, and gravy. I'm a pretty good chef. So come on down. So I know what I'm doing. I'm serving the community. I'm going to spend the day with my friends. We're going to peel potatoes. I'm going to make the pot roast in pressure cookers. I cook like a scientist, and it's really good.
Well, thanks for making me hungry, but
yeah, I'm kind of.
Are you running again in June?
Yeah, I'm in it.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it ain't over. And Joaquin ain't gonna, my friend across the table, he ain't gonna get the 50% plus one. This district votes 65% Democrat. Give it your best shot, pal. Work like hell. But I think I'm stripping off some of your votes in the county because I'm like Mr. Water. And you guys have certainly pivoted to water. I mean, you're at the KC24 debate. You spent the first 75% talking about water, and I appreciate having that impact on your guys' strategy in the race. But I think I'm pulling off a lot of votes that would not have gone to Joaquin from the county, and then I think I think it's going to be a three-way race. I don't think anybody's going to get close to 50% plus one. So
one of us has to go. It's only the top two.
Right. It's going to be a three-way race. I think it's going to be a close three-way race on April 5th.
So are you in the runoff in June?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's you and Joaquin in June,
or you and me. We'll see. Well, we'll
get Kenneth
I've heard people call. I've heard people call. On Facebook, call Joaquin a chest waxing feet. So we'll see how he comes across.
We've been talking a lot about Joaquin. Let's ask him.
Yeah,
I'm looking over at his chair, and I would like him to defend himself. Please, sir.
He still might show up.
Do defend yourself.
All right.
That's some good flapping mouth you have right there.
Okay, Clint, you have a you do. I'm sorry. There are people who definitely got some serious questions for you. MedMar Clinic.
Oh, Rick.
Rick. Apparently,
is it Rick?
I don't know. It's someone.
Rick follows me.
Okay, he wants to know. Where was?
Wait, let me guess. The police were told not to.
You answered the question.
The police were told by the city council not to respond to calls from MedMar.
He said, "Why did you instruct the Fresno police not to protect medical marijuana patients and then arrest them?"
I don't know, Rick.
So you did not instruct the Fresno police? Okay. I can't. I have nothing to follow up with that. He says he has a video.
He has a video.
I can't. I'm sorry. I cannot play the video. Our YouTube thing is just insane. Plus, we have a short amount of time. But you know what, Rick or homeboy McLaughlin, send me it, and I will put it on the post on the Facebook page or on our website.
I think that's fair. You've always been fair, Chris.
Yeah. So if you have an issue with that, continue. I'm sorry. I just cannot run that right now. Next question that I have, Cody, do we have any other ones that I'm missing here before I get into my stuff? Okay, thank you, Cody. It begins again. There's a couple. I know we're running short on time. Let's talk about.
Hey, Chris.
Yes.
Here's the video.
You have the video? Okay, I'll have to run this later. Oh, you're Rick?
No, I'm not Rick. But that came from Rick yesterday. He was at our event at Fresno City College. The Black Women Organized for Political Action and the Fresno Metro Black Chamber of Commerce were kind enough to hold an event yesterday, and I saw Rick again and got that video.
Well, I'm not going to harp on it because I don't know it, but he did respond that that's fair. So I will run it and allow anyone that wants to see it. There'll be a link on the website. Next question is going to be. I'm going to do two left. Vagrants. It is an issue that keeps popping up bigger and bigger. Now, Clint, the reason why you were here in November was because you wrote something about it. Vagrancy, I know this is going to be a big thing in the mayoral race for Fresno because two of the top guys, one is for homeless encampments, one is against homeless encampments. Your view, what can you do? Can you do anything as state assembly? Am I totally outside of my realm here?
No, I mean, it's the number one complaint we receive at my council office. It's the number one complaint that we get. We get complaints about vagrancy and homelessness from people who live in the south part of my district at Cedar and Tulare. They're not affluent neighbors. We get complaints about vagrancy from people who live in my district in Old Fig Garden, who are very affluent people. It cuts across all class lines, color lines, economic lines. People want to have clean, safe neighborhoods, and they blow me up for it all the time, and rightly so. That's why I wrote the editorial calling on the city to do something about it. However, I wish in hindsight that I'd taken a different approach. I began, after I wrote that, I began an educational tour. And one of the stops I made was to the Pavarello House in downtown Fresno. And I parked my car and I walked into the building, and the director said, "What'd you see, Clint, when you walked in?" Well, I saw a lot of people on the street, on the sidewalk, sitting on the curb. And he says, "Well, Clint, what you just walked through was an open-air mental institution. No walls, no nurses, no treatment, no medication, no nothing, just people sitting out in the street." And so, I think that as a state assembly member can commit to
Can you commit to getting us some money down here to get something, some
that's
support?
What it is. And that's what it is. It's about priorities in Sacramento. Fresno is
just to step in. There's a lot of talk of what we want to do, what we can do. A lot of campaign stuff, but I think everyone's going to be frustrated. There are certain people listening that are getting mad, going, "Well, yeah, you're saying this." Just bring it to us. Just get it to us. Prove yourself, both you guys and the chair behind me. Prove yourself if you can do it.
Yes.
So
yes. No, Chair. I mean I do support that. It has to be done. I mean, something needs to be done to address the problem, not just for the people who are suffering, but also as a quality of life issue for people in our cities and towns in the district.
Ted.
Yeah, Ronald Reagan dismantled our state mental health system. As one of his accomplishments, and as a result, instead of dealing with people with mental health issues in a medical facility or a hospital environment, we deal with them in a prison system, or we don't deal with them, and they're on the streets, and that is a scourge on our society. There's an expense related to that, and there's a cost to society. So we're living with the decisions that were made when Reagan was governor of the state of California. We need to focus on dealing with mental health issues. We need to,
seems it goes more deeper than just homelessness. Now we're talking gun control too. When it comes to the mental health issue, we've been hearing that parroted a lot with the shootings.
Well, I think that having mentally ill people not be out there armed with Glocks and AK-47s is probably a good idea.
Or in some cases, a microphone.
Well, I think
Kenneth.
There's only so much you can do with regulation. So.
Okay, now I have my final. Unless someone calls in or whatever, but we do have to wrap it up. So send us your messages, and I'm sure we'll talk to these gentlemen again in the future. Final thing, and I know this is going to be right up your alley, Ted. Legalization of marijuana. Now,
oh my! We can't talk about that.
I have a question, and I talked to Molstar or Kevin a couple weeks ago about this, and I have my own kind of layout for why. Just follow me here. Marijuana is federally illegal. It is a controlled substance, correct?
Correct.
States now have voted to make it legal, benefiting in a lot of tax money. And, of course, all those overdoses and deaths that happen from those marijuana kids in Colorado that we always hear about in memes that are bullshit.
Terrible tragedies.
Yeah. And mass murderers and all that. Now, I equate it to Jimmy's mom tells Jimmy to go to bed at 9 p.m. Jimmy, being the state, tells Mommy, the federal, no, I'm staying up till 10. And that works for a while until Mommy kicks down the door at 9:15 one night and says, Jimmy, your ass is going to bed now. And that would be the busting of general pot shops that happen, distributors and all that in various areas. Now, going one step further, if we're going to go ahead and ignore the parental advice that is our federal system, can the county of Fresno just say, F it, let's legalize and set up a system where, because we're poor, can we legalize it to benefit from the taxes? You've been talking a lot tonight, Ted, about where tax money would go, revenue from legalizing marijuana. I don't know your views yet on this, Clint, but can City of California or County of Fresno just say, let's legalize it? Can we put this on, let the citizens vote for it? Is it possible?
I think the reverse of that is going to happen. I think that what you're going to see in November is going to be a ballot initiative that includes provisions for local control. So I think ultimately what we might have in the state of California are, Orange may say no, LA may say yes, and Kern may say no, and Tulare may say yes.
So you have dry counties, and
exactly. That's what I think is going to be part of that. I draw that on my knowledge of being a part of the board of directors of the League of California Cities. And
well, that's what they do in Colorado too.
Yeah,
they have dry counties or what do you call it, smokeless counties or whatever.
Yeah. And so that's what we're going to see.
Pressure question.
Yeah,
are you for it?
You know what? I'm going to be for whatever the voters decide in November.
Okay.
That's a very
So it's
polished-
whatever,
We did a fifth.
So it's whatever his constituents vote. So he has to vote depending on what they say, right?
Ted. Are you for it?
Let me think. Yes, I'm for it. You brought up the federal law, and when I was in college, I tried it once or twice. I don't think I inhaled.
Wait, no, you're not.
You
Clinton.
might be president.
Clinton apparently is sitting right here. So.
Yes.
I never exhaled.
Yes, Clinton is. Bless his sweetheart. When I was in college at USC, they had some studies. They had some medical studies going on. They and it was the 70s, but it was like no big deal. Ronald Reagan gets in, and what they did with marijuana is they made it a Schedule I drug, which puts it on the same the same level as morphine and heroin,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
right? And which also says it has absolutely no medical benefit. And that was done by Ron Reagan, who a few years later, had to be sort of like shuffled off to the side because he was clearly becoming.
There was a problem at the
suffering
end.
dementia.
Yeah, a wee bit.
There's definitely a problem there.
So we're kind of shaking off the yoke of those decisions right now. You talked about, the feds have basically decided to sort of step back away from that a little bit, Colorado, Oregon, and Washington have legalized their recreational use. Colorado splits it up by counties, allows counties to opt out, but I don't think that Oregon or Washington do. We may have counties that opt out, but, I mean, people, we're an agriculture-based county. We have, our community colleges have big ag programs. Our state university, the great Cal State Fresno, has a great ag program.
And most of the students already know how to grow it.
And to decide,
kidding,
quite possibly, to decide that we're gonna stand back, we're gonna step back from the largest. One of the largest cash producing crops. Margaret Mims said in a meeting that I was at, she said, you know what, it takes 26 gallons of water to grow an ounce of almonds, and it takes 28 gallons of water to grow an ounce of marijuana. So growing marijuana is really bad because it uses water. And I got up there after she made that statement, and I said, 26 gallons to grow an ounce of almonds and 28 gallons to grow an ounce of pot. How many ounces of almonds do you think it's going to take to buy an ounce of pot?
Yeah.
I mean,
I was just going to say.
If I'm looking at thousands of acre feet and looking at what how much revenue I can generate with that water, I'm going with pot.
You're gonna have more people trying to rob pot farms than you will almond farms.
We're gonna be building a lot of fences around the pot farms if we grow it outside. And
we need Donald.
We should try and grow it outside. Oh gosh, a Trump reference.
All right,
the worst joke.
The first of the night.
All right, so clearly for and now Clint, I know that already people are like, ooh, trashing on your comment, no comment. But as I said, if you're not comfortable with it, and if you want to not take a stance on one thing one way or the other, that's absolutely okay, because that's allowable. That's a candidate, that's someone that I want who's willing to either say I don't know about it or I'm not willing to talk about that. That's fine. And so don't knock anyone in that way. I think that
my goal here tonight is not to make any more mailers.
We'll see.
I
Too
agree.
late.
I've been setting them in my fireplace. I get like 3 a week.
Hold on.
Does Clint Olivier want you to OD on heroin?
Yes, he
Find
does.
out.
In his own words.
On the Dirty Dowdy Podcast.
I want to say to both you gentlemen, thank you so much for coming in tonight. We could have gone another 4 or 5 hours, and I think anytime you talk about this, Molstar was over the other night. we went. Even Cotty was talking, which you don't know she's here tonight because you haven't heard her. We went for hours on just a couple of these topics, and these are things that there's no starter point. They're just we've gotten to this point. It's just general things. But I think that we have two candidates sitting in the room right now that have been engaging, who will entertain any opportunity, even if it's some stupid podcast with dozens and dozens of listeners. Thanks,
low
Phillip.
dozens.
Low dozens. Thanks, Philip.
Thanks, Phil.
I think it's awesome that you guys understand or take any opportunity to talk to people, because that really makes that attracts people, the voters. And again, to repeat my statement, I'm not going to go over four reasons why. Just go out and vote. Stop being the guy who bitches about it and go be a part of it. It's easy to do. It took me 3 minutes yesterday. I'm registered and I will be voting. I will not tell you who I'm voting for. That's my choice. That's my thing. I'm not here to endorse one candidate or the other. I think we have a strong candidate in Clint Olivier here, who's running the independent, the Republican. I think you're a media-based guy. I think we have a strong candidate here in Ted Miller, who's on the low end with the Democrats. And I think we have maybe the candidate that could do the most as far as playing with his team in Joaquin Arambula, thanks, Katie, who wouldn't even show up tonight. So that now you have three very different voices who can do different things. Look at the character. Look at what they've been doing, and I think that should tell you right there something about where you handle or push your vote to, and be active. I don't want to hear anybody bitch if you didn't vote. Be a part of things. Thank you, gentlemen. Both of you for coming.
Thank you.
I hope we still be friends.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And I'm sorry for the next round of advertisement and tax against you guys. Next week, we have Ray Appleton coming in from KMJ. He's going to be a guest on the show.
Wow.
We've had some questions. Is this what you do every week? We do a show every week at 7 o'clock. They're not always this serious. Next week should be very fun and interesting. Tonight, I'm very happy to be able to provide a voice in a way that matters. I think that the Longbox.FM nation, people are listening to this show tonight and download it and stream it down the road. Hopefully soon, because you got to vote. I hope that we can swing this election one way or the other, or maybe even make it difficult more on everybody else when we do the runoff, because no one gets that 50%. F it, make them work harder. Sorry, Clint. Sorry, Ted. And then, Kenneth, real quick, you had something you wanted to say?
Yeah, it's totally unrelated to tonight. Fresno Rugby has 2 games left. 2 games left this season, and they are this Saturday and next Saturday. They're both home games over at Holman Park, which is off of Sierra and West. This Saturday, we play Life West, which will be at 1 o'clock, and next Saturday, we play San Jose Rugby Men's Club, which will also be at 1 o'clock next week at Sierra and West at Holman Park.
You have never sounded more sober.
Serious?
Yeah.
And look at the pile of beer bottles in front of me.
That's
Give blood, play rugby.
Damn right. Cheers.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, everybody, for participating. Get out and vote, listeners. It's on you. You, the people sitting in the room here, they can only speak. You guys get to have the final voice. And with that, this is Dowdy saying for everyone in the room, Clint Olivier, Ted Miller, and all my crew, word.
You've been listening to the Dirty Dowdy Podcast on Longbox.FM. The opinions expressed on the Dirty Dowdy Podcast aren't necessarily those of staff, management, or sponsors. The Dirty Dowdy Podcast is a presentation of Longbox.FM.